Salam everyone. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So starting off this, I didn't start off this day, obviously. It's like 2 something right now. That being said, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I usually start my Sundays off pretty late because I tried to sleep in. I didn't go to bed until like 2 in the morning yesterday. That being said, welcome to another day in this existence. You know what I mean? That's the best way I can describe it. It's a Sunday, man. It's a Sunday. That being said, so the topic today that I wanted to go over is don't relish in the failure of others. And I think this is something that everyone, no matter what you believe, no matter what race you are, no matter what economic background you come from, this is something that I think a lot of people don't really talk about. More than anything, I think they talk about sexuality, politics, all they want to. But this is something they want to talk about because human beings, I think we have an inherent selfish, toxic nature. And society is really built upon this hierarchy of success and failure, right? And we like to judge ourselves based upon, especially self-esteem wise, based upon our successes versus our failures. Like what ratio do we have compared to each other? Like, hey, you graduate from high school, you get your college degree, you get this nice job, you get married and stuff. That's like the successes in life. And then you have the failures. There's not getting the job. There's getting fired from your job. There's losing that significant other. There's, making bad investments. There's losing money, going to prison, all that kinds of stuff. And I think we really judge ourselves based upon, especially our peers, right? And how successful they are in comparison to us or lack thereof, right? And one thing that I've seen a lot of my life is when people don't like someone else, so a lot of people relish over their failures. And some of this is like, it's one thing if you don't get along with somebody, but a lot of people aren't really, quote, bad people, like evil people, right? Most people aren't that. Most people are just trying to their best to get what they need done, make ends meet, make friends, find happiness in some shape or form and just live life, right? However, that being said, a lot of people treat other people with so much disrespect and so much malice. And a lot of it is secretive. A lot of it is not upfront, right? There, we have this idea of, we see the violence in the street, oppressive governments, things like that, where it's like, obviously there's people that are being mistreated in front of our faces, but there's a lot of secretive, manipulative, passive aggressive behavior that we do to each other that kind of makes the situation a lot worse, right? And all too often what I see is people love throwing the fact that they're successful in other people's faces, especially people that they don't like, and I think that's really messed up, because you've had it happen to you, like, and that didn't feel good. You know how that made you feel, right? Let's say you go through a breakup or a divorce or something like that. And especially on social media, people are freaking trash, right? So sometimes people announce those things and there will be somebody, that goes, sees that person on social media, and how like people can use emojis to, basically express how they feel about a post. And then there'll be people like that do a laughing emoji or something like that. And, something that's basically mocking the person, making fun of them, be like, ha ha, you're going through this, you're going through that. And I think that's so disgusting, That's so disgusting because nobody likes to, it's like one of the golden rules is always like treat others how you want to be treated. And that golden rule is the one moral thing I think that encompasses is cross-cultural, it's cross-religious boundaries, it's cross-ethnic boundaries. Everybody would want to be treated like that, right? Nobody likes pain, suffering, humiliation, and guilt, shame, all those things. Like nobody likes negative emotions, but we'll constantly, and I mean constantly, I'd be the first person that makes it do it. And everybody, I think every living human being has done this. It can even be like some celebrity, like let's say for all intents and purposes, I'm not going to say my opinions on this figure, but he was the former president of the United States, right? So there's people that support him, there's people that don't like him, right? Obviously, right? And let's say he has some interpersonal problem, or or whatever, he suffers from some kind of failure. Obviously, he failed. He didn't win the election. I think it's really bad when people, obviously, you can have your opinions and stuff like that, but when people vocally and they publicly go out of their way to be like, ha, 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 and then when they go through something, they lose their freaking minds when other people treat them the same way. And especially when you consider, like, you don't know what how on edge somebody is. And I've been very vocal about my struggles with mental health. And, I know what it feels like for sure when other people go out of their way to, and it feels like they'll act like they're giving constructive criticism, but at the same time, they're taking the opportunity to get off their own insecurities and all this stuff. It's like, hey, I have an opportunity now to make somebody else feel bad, because obviously, they probably have their own struggles. You just don't know about it, right? Some people are really good about compartmentalizing and keeping things to themselves. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people, right? I have to feel like I have an outlet, and that's been to my detriment, especially having an outlet of people that aren't qualified to give you advice or whatnot. Drink some more tea. That being said, I think it's hella toxic. And like, let's say I get a raise or promote at my job, I'm not going to go and rub that in people's faces. I'm going to, of course, with my loved ones and people that I like, friends, acquaintances, whatever, I can kick it with them and just like celebrate, but I'm not going to intentionally do it in a way to where it's immodest to the point where I'm just like, peacocking in front of other people that didn't get the same opportunity. Because unfortunately, right, in this world, there has to be winners and there has to be losers. And yes, you can be a winner as much as you like to, but you're eventually going to fail in something. That's point blank, period. You are going to fail in something in life. And that's failure. Your failure is somebody else's success. Your failure is going to be somebody else's success. So when you see that person that takes that opportunity that you thought you were deserved or that you felt entitled to, are you going to still have that same attitude? And people really need to humble themselves, because sooner or later, you may think that you're coasting by, you're gonna peak, but eventually you are going to fail. That's guaranteed. I don't give a damn about this positive reinforcement about, you speak things into manifestation and all that stuff. That's all fine and dandy, but in real life, for pretty much 99.9% of the population, we all experience failure. Failure can mean you go to work one day and you get in an accident, and you're late to work and it makes you look bad. And then you have to, do all these car repairs. And it's a pain in the ass. Failure can mean that, you and your significant other break up. Failure can mean that you didn't get promoted at work. Failure can mean, you're not able to have children, those are all failures, right? And especially, and I think it's really bad. It's really, really bad here. Because I lived here most of my life, but I could say here, especially in the U.S., our culture is really toxic when it comes, because we live in a very competitive culture. We live in a more culture that's more based upon competition than cooperation. And because of that, there's a very strong emphasis on having so much pride in your achievements, right? But, there's the saying, pride cometh before the fall. Pride cometh before the fall. And what's going to happen when you fall? Although we don't realize on our way up the ladder, sometimes we push people to the wayside, and we alienate people along the way when we get successful. That's a big problem with always what we see in our culture, like people that come from nothing, they strive, and, they have the people that back them up, that believe in them. And then along the way, they shut those people out. They don't appreciate them. They kick them to the wayside because when they become successful and they go up into higher tiers of a social circle, financial success, wealth, and things like that, they think they're better than the people that they used to, that they were around, right? They forget the people that they grew up around. They forget some people even forget their family, like your family, for better or for worse, if they supported your dreams, they may not have been perfect people. They might not have raised you the best of their ability, but wallahi, man, you had somebody have your back. And then when you go up along the ladder, you think that you don't owe them anything. We have, very hyper individualistic. You don't think the friends that supported you, gave you a place to stay, fed you, gave you a pat on the back, encouragement, and all this stuff. You don't think that you owe them anything once you get up to a certain level, right? Like human, and I really, and that's one thing I realize as I get older, man. Human beings, we are really something else. We destroy the world around us for our own to make it into our own image for our own selfish reasons. We treat each other like garbage. Let's be honest. We treat each other like garbage. We treat ourselves like garbage, and it's just like we don't make any sense compared to everything else in this world. Everything else in our natural world has a purpose, and it seems to be in sync and in harmony with one another. All the animals, the animal kingdom. The nature, plants, the trees, what I'm saying? Everything is in sync with each other, and we're not really in sync with anything. We're not even in sync with ourselves. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had in mind. Like don't relish in the failure of others. When you see somebody that's down, don't kick them while they're down, man. Don't kick them while they're down. Encourage them to do better, man. And you never know what that person is going through. You never know what that person's future is, man. Sooner or later, man, maybe that person you return that will return that favor to you. You know what I'm saying? When you're down and out, when you suffer from failure, when you suffer from not meeting a milestone, when you go through your mental health issues. Oh, hey, what's up, Sister Talk? Hey, walaikum salam. Hey, what up? Comment section blowing up. Hey, what up, everybody? Hey, if you guys want to join in on this conversation, by all means, but the topic is don't relish on the failure of others. You're on a roll. I'm on a roll. Hey, thank you, sister. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, but I was basically, I see this a lot in our culture where people really, and I mean really, love relishing over the failure of others. Like somebody doesn't get the promotion at the job. Somebody has a divorce or a breakup. Somebody has issues in their family. Somebody goes through financial trouble and they lose their house, their job, things like that. We love relishing over people's failures. And I think that's incredibly toxic. And that's something that we don't get talked to enough about, even as children, right? I feel like parents don't instill that value to their kids, being like, hey, because you won this game or you got this prize or you got this good grade or you got this trophy, don't rub that in somebody else's faces, man, because you never know where you're going to be in the future. And that may be you in the future, Topic you can talk about. Yeah. Come on up, man. Come on up. Get my tea on again. Man, I love green tea. Give me caffeinated for this. Let's go. So, I think that about a lot. And especially like I think about at work, my professional life, that I've seen this way too much. I got Sister Talk on.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, I had my volume down on my computer. Sorry, that's my bad. So yeah, that was on me. How are you doing, sister?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking. What about you, brother? How are you doing?
It's a lazy Sunday. I got all my stuff out of the way, preparing for the next work week and whatever like that. Just got done offering salah for duhur. You know what I mean? And decided might as well do a stream in between that and Nasr. So yeah.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. It's always good to be prepared, right? And get yourself like mentally ready for the week. So that's good.
Yeah, I'm actually taking a test on Monday and Wednesday for like upgrade training at my job. And yeah, so I had to get my laundry done. I get all my stuff set aside. I get my the outfits I'm going to wear, for the whole entire week, ready to go. get a good workout later and stuff like that. I have to do that because I get so anxious before the work week starts, because at least for me, I have to prep way ahead of time compared to my peers, because, I always end up sure enough forgetting something before I go to work. And, I don't like that feeling where you're stressed out about, hey, do I have everything that I need? Do I have my notes ready for like this meeting and all that kinds of stuff,
No, definitely. Well, you know what as the saying goes, it's better to be prepared, right? Like, I think I heard it once said where it said preparation. People think like, oh, I wish I got good luck or whatever. But I think it was Oprah Winfrey who said preparation is you kind of setting yourself up to receive, something that's, positive. And obviously, if it gives you less anxiety, hey, why not? It's better to be prepared.
Yeah, exactly. And I think about that a lot. And I wish I had that mindset when I was like a lot younger, because, when you're younger, you feel like this more of this energy and stuff. So like organization and preparation sometimes is not considered as important. You're just like, hey, I can wake up an hour before I go to work. Take a shower, put my clothes on. I make it to work just on time, like literally a minute before I'm supposed to clock in, and everything's going to be all right. Now, as an adult, I realize that, hey, to make myself more competitive in the workspace, I have to, be at my, A game, 110% before I walk in the door.
SubhanAllah. Well, definitely. I think there's a lot, unfortunately, even in the education system. I feel like we teach our children things that, don't really benefit them, like as they get older. But, being organized is definitely a key component to being successful in life, as well as, a number of other things, whether it's finances and various different things. So, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, mashallah. So that being said, what do you think about the current topic? Hey, LaShawn, I see you in there. I'll get you on in like just 1 minute, but I just want to ask this question to her before you come on. What do you think about the topic about that I presented earlier about relishing in people's failures? Do you feel like you've seen that, or that maybe you've contributed that in the past?
Firstly, it's a great topic. I actually saw it and I was like, oh wow, I would love to sort of get everyone's take on it, just to, I guess, put my little 2 cents into the pot.
Yeah.
I think it really depends a lot on the person, because when someone feels maybe their own life is not progressing in the way they hoped, it could definitely create a sense of animosity and kind of that need to be like, oh, okay, well, if I'm okay. So I've heard this analogy, right? So there's the bucket, crabs in a bucket. So like
bucket. Yeah, I heard that.
Right. So when the crab is trying to get out, the rest of the crabs kind of pull it back down. And I always use that in the sense of when people relish in other people's failures, it's because maybe they're not in a position to get to that stage. So the fact that someone was, I guess, moving further than the norm, like if you think of, people that are, they say birds of a feather flock together, right? So
Yes.
if you're amongst your peers and maybe, everyone's kind of unhealthy or they're into addiction or whatever, as soon as one of them changes, it's really strange because everyone else now seems to think that, oh, you know what, you're bougie, or you think you're better than me, or and I think it's that guilt because you can't, maybe you don't feel like you have the willpower to try and do something different, where when you see someone else do it, it's like, oh damn, but then when they fail, it's like, oh, then I feel that much more better about myself. So it's a very selfish thing, I think, that we have. And also, show casting a lot of because we know in Islam, if there is a plan, or if you're planning to do something, even the Prophet, peace be upon him, it's upon the person to conceal, because we do have such things as the evil eye, and even we can give it to ourselves. Like if you look nice one day and you kind of admire yourself too much, that could ultimately cause some, whether you trip up or you spill something on your clothes or whatever it. So I think it's being mindful not to disclose everything about yourself to people, and not to showcase, your wins of, and the blessings you've got to other people, to prevent yourself from, getting the evil eye from people.
Exactly, sister. Exactly, sister. Then that's what's up. And I think about it, especially like the concept of the evil eye and the fact that you don't know who's watching you, right? Everybody, one of my best bosses, he told me one time, he's like, you never know who's watching you, right? There's always somebody watching you. There's people that admire you that don't notice, that you don't notice on your everyday life, right? It could be your peers, family members, relatives, acquaintances, neighbors, even, right? They see you every day and they see, oh man, that person got something going on. There's somebody that hates you because they are insecure or they see their lack of success in their life, and they're literally like, I even imagine this. I know there's probably people that when they offer dua, there are people like literally they're being like, oh, they're like, oh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please don't let them get that promotion. I deserve that, I know there has to be people like that, or whatnot. But hey, I got my man LaShawn. LaShawn, I met him over at Mace Taggard's stream. He's always supported me from the beginning. Hey, LaShawn, what's up, man? How you doing?
Salute to you, Sister Talk. And I couldn't agree with both of y'all more. And I, sometimes y'all be getting into conversation and I don't have nothing to offer because I don't have the knowledge in it, but it still doesn't stop me from learning the knowledge from you, and good thing about this is this happens a lot to people. This happened to me a lot. There's been many times where I've been put in a situation because of someone else's judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always, it's been from people just met, family, even the cops.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And when those people think, oh, you finally showed your true colors, knew you always, and they doing that mouthy mouth stuff and they ain't got no faith in you and they turned their back or now they got a reason they always thought, and you start realizing you didn't have that many friends, family, or just people that had blind faith because they can do it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing you can do. They can do it. Yeah, I've had many people, but the one thing I've been lucky enough about, that's what everybody say. It's just that I didn't do what you said. I wasn't a problem. And then I learned early on, it's like when you disappoint people that you admire and they're really disappointed in you, you tend, if you're really one of those people that love that person and you value their opinion, you tend never to try to do it again to them because you didn't like the way they looked at you. You didn't like the way they lost faith in you.
Mm-hmm.
And you become an honorable person and you just do the right thing by everybody because you know what? You don't know, you being nice to that person or you just saying that nice thing might have saved somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
Because that person could have went ate crazy like a silverback going through a bamboo forest.
Mm-hmm.
And it told you to get the heck away, but it's coming at you now. You stuck. But kindness, consideration. You don't have to agree with everybody, but you don't have to make it a personal war just because they said something you couldn't argue with or whatever. But there's going to be a lot of people that relish in it. You're going to have it on YouTube. You have those people that's going to try to prove it to you. Oh, he ain't about what? She ain't about We've all seen it. And the truth is that, you know what? People really hate that you're just happy your life is just that simple.
Yeah.
You don't need all the frills, the chills, this is shiny, that. I've got shiny things and I've got cool things myself. But the thing is, I couldn't buy it brand new, but someone kept it in great condition and sold it to me for use. And it still looks just as good as it did the day it was made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel you, bro.
But I'm not.
Oh no, go ahead, finish.
Sir. No, it's just where your values is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you value yourself just to make yourself happy? and anybody else who just, you know what, that's just a cool person. They ain't trying to hurt you. They ain't trying to cause no harm. They ain't trying to wish no ill will on you. They're just decent damn people.
Mm-hmm.
And in the world today, you really realize if you ain't a decent person, you ain't gonna have that many decent friends, and then you're gonna end up complaining about you ain't got nobody. Well, you ain't been nobody for anybody else.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Zach. What's your opinion?
Yeah, man. You was on the pulpit, man. You was preaching, bro. I was feeling
Sometimes
that, bro.
I do that.
It's all good, my brother. But like, so the way I think about it, right, is when the first time I think I experienced this, right, is, you know, I come from a big family. I'm the middle child of 5 siblings all together. Sometimes we're all in the same household. Sometimes we weren't. But I remember me and my brothers, right? My dad, actually, this includes my sisters too. My dad would always say things to compare us to each other. Like, why aren't you like your sister? Why aren't you like your brother? They made better grades than you. Why can't you do that? They won the last football game. Why didn't you do that? You know, blah, 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 blah. Oh, he recently got married. Why don't you have your things together? You know, they just recently graduated from college. Why haven't you did that? And I remember like a lot of that time, sometimes I understood maybe where he was coming from to kind of encourage us to do better. But I remember even amongst our like ourselves, right? There was always like when somebody else screwed up, right? It was always kind of like put up in front of everybody else's faces. And when you're constantly compared to somebody else and they're being more successful in certain ways than you, just like I was more successful in other ways compared to my other siblings, when you see them fail and your relatives or your parents kind of put that out there, it's kind of like, I remember literally like one of my siblings would get in trouble at school, right? And we'd be like, ooh, yeah, see, you got in trouble, blah, blah, blah. And instead of being like, hey, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm here for you. Like, you want to talk or something like that. Instead, we relished over their failure, you know? And in a family, I think that's real toxic, you know? And especially after my parents divorced, I realized, like, you know, some of my siblings would be like, they would click up, you know? They would, like, usually it was like 2 siblings at a time, right? They would click up and they'd be on one side, and then other ones would click on on another side. And instead of us working as a functioning unit, it was always like people just, changing alliances between siblings of, in order to get what they wanted, or to highlight their successes in life and kind of like, point their nose at everybody else. And I think over a period of time, it reached a point where when we finally became old enough to leave the house, a lot of us didn't check in with each other. There was kind of this resentment, like, oh, well, I'm not going to check up on you because, back in the day, you rubbed my nose in my failure and stuff like that. Now that I got everything going on, I'm not going to see to check up on you. You know what I mean? I don't know. Have you guys ever experienced that?
That happens a lot. That happens a lot, Zachy. That's a big thing, and it's a real thing among many families. It's even in mine. So you are telling the truth on that one, sir.
Right on. Sister Talk, you got anything to say about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think you've pretty much said it all, really, and I do agree with the fact that, as much as I think they mean well, parents, we do have this mindset where we feel like if we, put children or siblings against one another, it will get them to hopefully behave, and follow in the footsteps to their older siblings. But I think what we fail as parents in that sense is that, do you know what, like, children have unique personalities. So one child might be quiet, one child might be loud, one child might be creative. So I think you're already kind of setting your children up to fail the minute that you start comparing, or even to the outside world. Because I got that a lot with my cousins, where they would always clean and take care of the home. And I remember my mom would always be like, so and so's cousin, your cousin, she does this and she does that, and you're not doing this. And yeah, it does create animosity. I mean, to be honest, it creates a lot of resentment and jealousy between people as well, which is really bad, unfortunately.
Sister Talk, can I make that comment when your mama said, well, your cousin do this and this? I said, Mama, I'm lazy. just give me that look. You smart ass.
Do you know what? Unfortunately, I came from the era where you could not speak back to your parents because if you did, you'd probably get the backhand.
It was worth the backhand. You heard what I said, right? That was worth the backhand. Mama, you know I'm lazy. I was gonna get my ass whooped. She was throwing something at me. Could have been
Exactly.
It's same thing for black people in America too, man. It's same thing, bro. I remember one time, bro. Mouthing off to my dad was one thing, right? My sister used to mouth off to my dad all the time. Like she used to love speaking under her breath in front of my dad all the time, and he'd be like, "What do you say?" And she knew he wasn't going to do anything, so she would just be like, "Yeah, I said that." All he could do was ground her, right? Because my dad doesn't believe in putting hands on women. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as discipline, right? Wise, right? But she would never did that with my mom because my mom would backhand her with the quickness. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying? Like Willie D. You know what I'm saying? Like some Dolomite shit. You know what I'm saying? She would backhand her in the quickness. And for us as boys, you know, we're taught to respect our mother and stuff. But when we were teenagers, bro, teenage boys, man, you got those hormones going and stuff like that. And I remember all the time I was just like, I'm like, you can't tell me what to do. You know what I'm saying? And I would sneak out and stuff like that. And I come back and the house would be locked. My mom was savage, bro, you know?
Yeah, I went to my friend's house when she did that. His mama make good coffee and cake. I was like, mama kicked me out. She mad at you? What you do? Well, you said something again, didn't you? Yeah. Boy, you can't be smart mouth with everybody. I said, yeah. Shoot. Dude, one time I ticked off my whole family at a family reunion.
Mm. Wow.
It was worth the butt whooping, but I was right because I was ticked off.
You were brave.
I was accused. No, I'm one of those people. It's like, you know what? You can bash me about something I did wrong. But when I know I didn't do nothing wrong and I'm getting railroaded, and then no matter how many times it's been, you know, I've been accused of stuff, and yeah, I did one really bad thing, made a promise to my mama and kept this for my life. When I give you my word, it's my word. I can't break it. It's irritable. But it was just that, you know, how many times I've been accused and done and treated, and then later on it turns out what Sean wasn't, but it's all of a sudden I don't get a sorry, and then I need to just let it roll off my back. You just need a man up. Hold up. You took my manhood. And now I need a man up and just let it just flow off my back. Like, oh, y'all didn't do the effort and y'all didn't do the intention and y'all didn't go out your way to try to make my life harder. When it was already hard and I ain't did nothing wrong. And now I don't get a sorry and I don't get no support or no backup the next time it happened, because you know what? That stuff. And there's a lot of people that go through that. And then that's where you get the mistrust from, because no matter what you do, no matter how good you is, they still gonna go out their way to screw you.
That's true.
Can I just add to what the brother said as well?
Yes.
Maybe
lady, you got the floor.
Thank you. What about the fact that if your younger siblings do something, you actually get whipped for that, because you should have like kept an eye on them, or you should have been the one that's taking care of them. I've seen that a lot. Like,
yeah.
You haven't even done anything. It's someone else's fault, but yet you're getting the scolding for it, which is really bad.
Yeah, especially after my parents divorced.
Oh yeah, I hate that. Happened to me too. Oh.
Yeah, when my parents divorced, I was kind of basically put in a position where I kind of had to like watch the household, because my older siblings, they would have jobs too. And then, you know, my parents be out working and stuff. So there's a couple of times where basically, you know, let's say my younger siblings, they broke something or whatever like that. There was actually one time, I never forget this. This is one of the angriest I've ever seen my mom. My mom, shortly after she divorced my dad, we moved into a new place and we didn't have much food actually, because mom was going through nursing school. So we actually had my mom's friends sometimes drop off food for us. And I never forgot that. They showed us so much kindness. And there's one time, I remember one thing that I always loved was my mom used to always make a dope lasagna. homemade from scratch, right? And she had this lasagna. She spent all day getting it ready, right? And she put it in the oven. And then my little sister, for whatever reason, I don't know why she thought this was cool. She put lipstick, right? A tube of lipstick in the microwave, and she hit it. She heated it up and destroyed the microwave, of course. But the fumes from the lipstick were poisonous fumes, so the whole house got filled up with it. And my mom came home just in time right after that happened, and she was freaking out. She's like, "Oh my God, everybody get out of the house, blah, blah, blah. It's poisonous smoke and all this kinds of stuff, And so we got out of the house. I think we aired out the house. My mom looked so freaking angry, right? And she got the lasagna and she threw it away. And she was just like, "Hey, call your dad. He's going to have to bring you dinner tonight. I can't believe that you guys were so irresponsible that happened. I spent my, my hard-earned, time just preparing for this to do something special for you guys." And she whooped all of us, and she whooped me especially because she was like, "How could you let that happen? You were supposed to be in charge. You're the oldest one here." You know what I mean?
Man, I got my ass whooped for being the middle. I was the youngest cousin. I'm the most responsible at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only one that was allowed in the kitchen to cook. I mean, like actually cook.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom and my aunt would go to bingo. My uncle would go to the bar to drink and watch sports with his friends. And I what they got in the kitchen? What you got? I'm hungry. What you mean? I'm gonna cook something. Shoot. My mama wasn't a very good cook. If she didn't know how to cook it, she breaded and fried it and put it in gravy. It was eatable. It was just, for a long time, I just thought gravy was ketchup. So, but the thing was, it's just, I got to the point where I remembered some of the stuff and I was like, well, I got this, and put a step stool to the stove. I just put everything on low because my mom said this is what low is. She did show me that much. When you cooking, this is what you do. So one day I just sat there and we had a chicken in there and she was like, "I'm gonna cook this when I get home." But she's military, so she was doing extra stuff. Plus she was doing that retraining, every couple of years they put you back through like a simulated basic training for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So it was she finally, she's finally home kind of thing. And the thing is that, family, military families and everything else, they told her like, "Miss Jefferson, I don't know what's wrong with your son." She's like, "What you mean?" It's like, the whole 2 weeks, he come over, but he ain't stay. He ain't ask us to cook nothing. And my wife went over there and then like he gave us plates. I was like, "What?" Yeah. He cooking. And my mom's sitting there freaking out. She come in the house, raging like, "You done cut on the stove. You trying to think you would cook." But the thing was, the table was set, food was there, and like I actually learned recipes because I was actually asking the moms and stuff. I want to do something special for my mom, so they showed me how to do it, and I did it. It's just she was sitting there looking at me. It's like, I said, "Look, ever since then." But I was caught in that situation where cousin was playing with that damn microwave. And it was right when the microwave, everybody could afford a microwave. And it wasn't that big as a 52-inch TV to cook something in it. Oh my God. That ass whooping was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it was just my older cousins decided to throw a party. And I'm the youngest and I can't outrank them. So I got my butt whooped for it. Yeah, that story, oh man. That's how many of us get our ass whooped because our family done did something stupid.
Yeah.
Not us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, you're speaking facts, bro. Yeah. Go ahead, sister.
You ever not be in the state your cousin do something in and then you get your ass whooped because your cousin was stupid?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the end of itself. Actually, I had a cousin steal money from my family, and he blamed it on my older brother. My older brother got in trouble for it and punished for it. And then, sure enough, because he was like a cousin from my dad's side, and my brother was my half brother, and my dad didn't ever like my half brother because he was a half brother from my mom's side, right, from another man that she had a relationship with in the past, and so he was like the black sheep kind of. And then so when we found out that the other cousin was stealing stuff, he basically got, a slap on the wrist, but my brother was basically the whipping boy the entire time. He got accused of stealing all this stuff. But yeah.
So he got Kunta. He got Kunta. That's what.
Yeah, he got Kunta. Unfortunately, I hate to laugh about it, but it is what it is. That was the past, man. It was unfortunate. Sister, you were about to say something. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to say that was so thoughtful. To the other brother. Is it, how do you pronounce your name? Sorry, Lishan? Lishi?
LaShawn.
Okay.
Jefferson.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. LaShawn Jefferson. I think that was such a beautiful thing to do for your parents. And also, I think parents sometimes fail to also understand that as a child, our whole existence depends on them. So, we comply to the demands of our parents because we want to behave and kind of, be good kids, especially when they beat you and when they, compare you to other, I guess, children. There's a sense of complying, I think, that children do. And also that relates to what you said about the mistrust. Where I think to maybe go back to the topic, that's where a lot of these, issues come from, the insecurities that you have, because those insecurities kind of get stilled within you from a very young age. So when you grow up and you see someone doing well, maybe when you were younger, you were always called stupid or like, oh, you're so dumb or, or whatever. And when you see someone else kind of succeeding because you feel like you can't do it and someone else is doing it, it definitely creates that friction.
Yeah. So that's definitely true. And I think one of the most toxic things that I've seen in my life when I was like relishing over others' failures was my younger brother. My younger brother, for instance, he had a really bad bedwetting problem when he was a kid. And I remember like it got to the point where my parents thought he was doing it on purpose, and basically they kind of like shamed him for it. They'd be like, hey, you're a big boy, how come you can't use the bathroom? At least you can wake your brother up. And they kind of would put it on me too. They'd be like, hey, why don't you checking up on him and waking him up in the middle of the night to get him to go use the bathroom and stuff like that. And I remember at first I was like empathetic to him and I was like, hey, it's okay. It's never happened to me, but hey, it's okay. Yada, yada, yada. Everybody does this, right? And even though it's not true, but I said things to make him feel better about himself, right? When we were little kids at that, right? And then eventually I started being like, hey, I'm tired of getting in trouble because you can't hold your stuff together. Like I started shaming him. I had all these nicknames for him and stuff like that. And so there was actually, I never forget it. And this humbled me. And I think about this to this day. I never wetted the bed in my whole life, right? And it was during a Halloween. My parents let me celebrate Halloween and stuff like that. And I think I was like 8 years old or something. And they were like, hey, you can go sleep over at your friend's house. And this is the very first time I had a sleepover at a friend's house. I never was allowed to do that. And I was so excited. I was like, dude, this is going to be awesome. He has a Sega Genesis. I don't have a Sega Genesis. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to play video games all night and we're going to eat candy. It's going to be awesome, right? So
you watched the horror movie.
Yeah.
You watched the horror movie. Oh,
yeah.
Same way it happened to me. It kind of sounds the same way. Yeah. Yeah. First horror movie that scared the crap out of you.
Yeah, scared the crap out of me, right? So sure enough, here's the icing on the cake, right? So I wasn't allowed to drink soda at home, right? I never really was allowed to drink soda at all. Like my parents were very health conscious. So I was raised off of just drinking juice and water, right? That's why I was raised off of drinking. So they had soda, they had Mountain Dew and all that stuff. I was like, oh, Mountain Dew, this is awesome, right? So we're drinking Mountain Dew and stuff. And then, bedtime came. And I was pretty tired. We ate a bunch of candy. So I was super hyper, but then I crashed really hard. And then he's like, oh, hey, we have a guest room here or whatever like that. And this is kind of like where my little sister sleeps, but she's sleeping with my parents, so you can go sleep in the guest room. And we're little kids, so he doesn't sound that eloquent saying that. He doesn't sound as mature saying that, but he was like, yeah, you can go sleep there. So I slept there, and I kid you not, I wet the bed. And it was so humiliating. And then I realized how I made my brother feel, over time and time and time again. And it was so embarrassing the next morning, me having to deal with that. And, the kids' parents being like, hey, it's okay. It happens sometimes or whatever like that. And just still having the shame and the humiliation, being like, hey, they're going to tell my parents, this is super embarrassing and all that kind of stuff. And I never forget it. Like, basically, I think my parents knew about it, but they kept it to themselves and they didn't let my little brother know. And I can only imagine, like, how my little brother felt, if, of all those situations that I made him, feel lesser than because of his problem. And, when I did it now, I want.
You never did it again. So you made up for it. You made up for it. You sinned without knowledge. But then when basically, you did the same sin, you shame someone for doing the sin, you see how easy it was. Because for whatever reason, he might be having nightmares and he just getting scared the piss out of. And you understood then. So you became a better brother. And even though your parents delegated their responsibility, it turned out to be a life lesson that you kept even today and you would never do to anybody. So there you go. God works in mysterious ways, doesn't it?
Yes, he does, man. Like, I never thought. I always think about that. Actually, this is the first time I thought about it in a little while pertaining to the conversation. I don't know, Sister Talk. Have you ever related to a situation like that? Not with bedwetting, but I'm talking about like just you got humiliated or embarrassed by something you did that was something that you made fun of other people for doing, and how that kind of made you more empathetic.
If I'm, do you know what? I probably have, and I just can't remember it. But I think for me, I think I was always quite sympathetic, just because of, like, again, it all varies with upbringings. But my mom was a single parent, and I was kind of like the eldest daughter at the time, even though I had a brother who was much older than me. So in that sense, I think I was always sympathetic towards others. But I remember I always wanted to be like my older brother, and he would definitely not want me to be around when he was playing with his friends. And he would always kind of, I guess, make me feel like, you're a girl, you shouldn't be here, go away. But I don't know. For me, I probably have, but I just can't really think of it. But
you don't want to put your business out there, by the way. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot, or anything.
No, of course. Honestly, if I could remember it,
it'll come to you.
Yeah,
it'll come to you because you have, because it kind of touched on you, and you kind of had a moment like, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's just you can't call it up right now.
Yeah.
See, I'm a little bit different. I was empathetic, period. That's what everybody keeps telling me. It's personally, I call it a curse, but honestly, I've got, like, I'm in my 40s, and most of my family lives up to like 85, and that's the minimum for the most times for us. So I was able to be able to talk to family members I ain't never met, because most of my life I was Army brat, moved to state. Shoot, I finally got to where my mom was originally born at, and finally get to know my family. But it's been pretty much me and my mom. Men and women, kids I met. That was my family, because military is a family in itself. It's extended family, where we used to have grandmothers, aunts, and uncles and stuff. That's what the military is. You find your good group, you stay with your good group.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from the crazy ones if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's war, then you want them to be in front of you. But honestly, I was a kid with a lot of bad ear infections. Most of my childhood, I didn't hear people talk because my eardrums and the swelling and the infections and everything, I couldn't hear nothing except the thump of like my eardrums beating with the blood pressure from my heart, literally.
Mm.
So I went through a lot of ear operations from not even if I think I got my first operation on my ears when I was 1 year old.
Mm.
I mean, but the thing was, I'm one of those weird ones because honestly, well, I've been in the hospital and kids were really sick. And since I couldn't sleep, I always walked the halls. So I met people. And at times, I sat with people and they talked. And I might have been the last person they talked to. That's the way I grew up.
Mm.
So it kind of changed me because, you know, people like, I'm like, I go to the nurse, like they ain't responding no more. And they come at, what are we doing here? Well, my ear was hurting. So I was walking the halls and then they said something because the door was open and I walked in and they said, well, could you just sit with me? I said, yeah. And it happens. It's a weird life you live. You will give people pleasure. You will give people joy. You will be there when they at their worst sadness. You can also cause the same destruction just because your mindset's wrong.
Mm-hmm. I think about that a lot.
Both you and Sister Talk are on that line of, I don't give a damn if no one remembers me when I'm dead. But they will remember me because I was that person while they were living that never treated them like crap.
Mm-hmm.
Never gave them a discouraging word. Never, and that goes a long way because that person could talk to a group of people that wouldn't give you a chance to say, don't you disrespect me because I'm serious. We ain't friends no more.
Mm-hmm.
What your life's going to be and what your worth's going to be and how well you want to be worthy. That's your question. You are either going to make it happen or you don't. And that's what y'all thinking about. And that's your real question.
Yeah, like
y'all,
I think
y'all can expand on that.
Yeah. I think about like for instance, this happened a lot in my life, where you have friends, especially, and you feel like, friends like them, especially guys, at least as men, right? We like to roast each other, right? And be like, yo, man, blah, blah, blah. We talk about each other's clothes, we talk about our haircuts and all that kinds of stuff. We find all kinds of things to like kind of roast each other up. And sometimes it's just all in good fun. And we're trying to, that's our way of showing compassion and, brotherhood and stuff like that is by not taking each other too seriously. But some of it I noticed.
It is.
So sometimes, on the flip side, though, I know there were people that really were saying things that were hurtful, and they were saying it because of like what they were going through, right? And I noticed that would be a lot of jealousy, like if somebody got a lot of attention from girls and stuff like that, and somebody be like, "Oh, I like so and so, I think she's cute," blah 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 blah, and there'd be always somebody like, "Man, she don't want you," blah 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 blah, look at you, blah 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 blah, and sometimes it would come across as just guys roasting each other, but sometimes it would be like legit jealousy because, especially if the feelings were reciprocated, right, and they could notice that somebody did like you or have a crush on you, there would be this resentment. Like, what does she see in him? I'm better looking than him. I make better grades. or I have more money than him. I got all this stuff. I got more swag, whatever, whatever, we like to equate to ourselves. And there would be this kind of jealousy. And I think, Sister Talk, I think maybe girls have the same thing. And maybe you all are worse than me because,
they do. Yeah. Because once, trust me. Have you heard the back talk? Once they friend leave, you still there around them. And once the girl leaves the stove, they start talking crap about her and she's they ride.
That's so terrible, man.
Oh, yeah, they get it. They get it, bro. And then the worst thing is, all of a sudden, that woman, after she receives enough, she starts treating the man like he's the same woman, but she'll call him the B word, but she'll never call a homegirl a B word.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. And dudes do the same thing to women.
Mm-hmm.
You know that friend that you always wanted?
Mm-hmm.
And you mad she don't know this? Same thing for women.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
man.
Someone's going to hate you because you happy.
Don't even get me started.
Someone's going to hate you because you happy.
I took down 2 videos because I looked back on those videos, and for me, it seemed like those were just me trying to sound deep, but I was just venting the fact that a girl that I worked with or in the past, or a girl that I was friends with in the past, that I had a crush on her and that I fell in love with her or something like that, and that I knew that I probably never had a chance, and then me just venting. And I kind of look back on that as like being cringe. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like in the hospital one day and I was like looking, through all my videos, like, ugh, this looks, imagine nobody ever knows me. Nobody knows the context behind it. Like, the first thing they're going to know about me is that. So I kind of took that down. But Sister Talk, I'm sorry. I know you've been, in the background for a little bit, but do you see that as kind of tying into the topic of relishing in people's failures, where they see somebody's giving an opportunity, whether it be potential for marriage or a relationship, or they're going to get a good job, or they're going to go to a good university or something like that, go on a good vacation, and they kind of think, they give like criticism of it, but they're acting like they're being friendly about it, but really they're just showing their insecurities, and they're just actually, showing that they're jealous. Do you agree?
Definitely. I think it's rampant within men and women in terms of the relationship dynamics. And firstly, one thing I just wanted to sort of clarify is that, when you see someone having something or maybe progressing further in life than you are, I think it's natural. And I don't think we acknowledge that those feelings are valid. But I think the thoughts that, lead up to criticizing someone or putting them down, or, if a sister wants to get married to a particular brother just because you're not married, there's that sense of, kind of putting him down. So maybe she doesn't, kind of value him or see him in the same way. I think that's destructive. But I think, because how would you know that you want something? Like, I think most people are a projection of our own reality. And I think people turn out, sort of come into our world or our, view of the world, to help us to realize, hey, I like this, because we never really know what we like and what we don't like. Especially, I think, if you were younger and you didn't have parents that were supportive of you having a sense of autonomy. As you get older, the relationship dynamics that you find yourself in, those are the ones where you get to learn a lot more about who you are and your dislikes and your likes. But yeah, subhanallah, it's really crazy. And I think dare I even say it's a lot more prevalent within the sisters, because as sisters, it's, you want attention, and attention is very important for us, because again, it comes down to even why we dress a certain way and why we, beautify ourselves, because we want to be noticed. So when you have another sister who is getting more attention than you, there is that sense of like, well, why is she getting it and I'm not? What's wrong with me? And I think society definitely promotes, that sense of combativeness or competitiveness within women, just simply by how, society feeds us a lot of the typical stereotypes of what beauty is and, what you should be, and kind of not embracing your own individual beauty.
Yeah, actually, that's what's up. And sister, thank you for having, the confidence and the courage to, reflect upon that, because I think everybody, regardless of what gender they are or what race they are, they want to act like, from their perspective, things, the grass is always greener and things like that. And it was so easy for us to criticize the opposite per gender or another community or something like that, instead of reflecting on, ourselves and what we are, what our group is. And I think about this like last time. So there was with this said person, right? When they got with the person that they're with and stuff like that, I was just like, I realized how great of a couple they were. I was just like, they both make good money, they're both at similar points of their life, they're around the same age. So they're probably in the same mindset and maturity. They both seem like they're content with where their life is going. I could see them, creating a good family and stuff like that. And then I remember I had one day where I was like, this is so petty. This is so incredible petty. I was at work one day, and after work, they were like, oh, yeah, we're having a housewarming. I was like, oh, they already got it. They already bought a house together. And I remember like that, like triggered me to a point where I was just like thinking, I was like, oh, I didn't have a chance because I was coming up with all these excuses why I never had a chance with her. I was like, well, you know what? She's probably this way and she's probably that way and X, Y, and Z. And it was so toxic, all the excuses I was coming up with my head of why I wasn't, quote, good enough. And I was just like, well, maybe she's not good enough for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, let them go off and do this and do that. I'm better than her and I'm better than him and X, Y, and Z. I remember just how, like, when I started recognizing that behavior that was like creating, because I was dwelling on it so much, it was like, it was toxic. It was borderline. I think like those kind of emotions create a lot of evil scenarios where people, because of that resentment, they're like, oh, I feel some type of way. You know what? I'm going to the bar. I'm going to the bar so I can drink and vent and complain about it. And then that leads to so other things, and then we find other vices to put ourselves in. Oh, I even know guys, for instance, right? They would see another guy, like a friend of theirs or an acquaintance of theirs, another guy get with the girl that they wanted. And then they basically create rumors and start stuff to like create frictions in the relationship, just to create a wedge between somebody, because they're like, hey, I'm better than them. I'm better than him. He doesn't deserve her and stuff. And then how I had closure for that, what gave me closure, believe it or not, is a long time ago. And I know gambling is haram, but we made a bet like years ago, right? And he was like, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I'll make a bet with you if you basically, it's such a petty bet. So this was when the Golden State Warriors were playing the NBA championship against the Raptors, right? And so when they lost, when the Golden State Warriors lost, I went with the Raptors, and I rubbed it in his face so much. And because he was always the guy that he's never wrong, and whatever he says is going to happen is he can predict anything. He can predict the end of the world, right? And I rubbed it in his face so much. And then I was just like, he was just like, hey, I'll make you a bet. Don't rub it in my face, and I'll pay you $200 before I leave, because he was just like, hey, I got a couple more years of this job and I'm going to, retire or transfer or something like that. Right.
You know what? And I got to say something. He was the type to rub it in your face, though. He was the type to rub it in your face, though.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And so when the time came, I was just like, I was thinking about that bet, and I was just like, oh, I can't wait to get that money, blah, 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 blah. And then I was just like, I realized, I was like, hey, I need to have like some closure for myself, and I need to find out what that is. Because once this person leaves, I still don't want to think about this. This is a toxic thing, right? So I literally got the money that we made in the bet, and I gave it to him as like a send-off gift. I was just like, hey, you're a great person. You always, because I realized how he actually did care about me. He gave me opportunities at my job. He referred me to do an additional duty at my job that I actually really loved for like the last 2 years. Like, he actually did all these things behind my back that were good. Like, he actually did things that were good. Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, yeah, he honored me. And so I was just like, yeah, he's with the girl that I like, but wallahi, he's a good man. Like, he's a good human being. So I was like, I wrote him a letter for that. And I was just like, hey, here's the money. And I was just like, hey, you have something that is worth more than all the money in the world. I was like, I hope you guys have a beautiful life together. And I wrote that in the letter. And
You
that for
outlived
me,
the man
overnight.
that outlived you.
Yeah,
You did a good job,
overnight,
sir.
I don't even think about it anymore. Like, I'm completely over it. And wallahi, I think that was like a spiritual experience. Me just being like, hey, I need to write this down and send this guy off, into his life.
That wasn't God. That wasn't God or anything else. That's just what God gave us, the gift to forgive like God does.
So, sister,
that's all it was.
Yeah, sister. I know that was quite a long-winded story. I don't know what you think about that, but yeah, that was something that I look back upon as being one of the best things I've ever done for somebody. And I'm not here to put myself on a pedestal, but that helped me. Wallahi, that helped me so much. Like, get over that jealousy.
I think it's a beautiful story, and I think the fact that you even come to the realization after reflecting on your own behavior that you found some sort of closure in that situation, I think it speaks volumes, really. I've also heard of like, if you feel something, or if something bad happens, or whatever, like, just give sadaqah, just give like £5 or £10 or however much for charity on the behalf of that person. Also, you can like make prayers. So when I find myself actually in those kind of situations where I find something that is quite difficult to let go, what I tend to do is I'll pray for the person. So like, I'll pray, even though, and sometimes even when people have done me wrong, to some respect, because I'm only looking at it from my own egoistic kind of perspective. So what I do is I'll pray for it. I'll pray for that person, knowing that I don't have the full knowledge, and only God has the full knowledge of the situation, and that always gives me solace as well. So I think it's really important to not let those feelings fester and manifest in toxic ways. It's definitely things that we can do. And again, like you beautifully also said, it's really about having that reflection and understanding that, wow, like, I feel this way, and doing something about it, rather than cursing or thinking in all the horrible things that could possibly happen to them, because even that, you're actually just destroying yourself. I've come to realize you're not harming anyone, you're only harming yourself, because even in our body, you're creating all this toxic emotions and feelings within yourself.
Yeah, and sister, and so before I hand it off to LaShawn, one thing I do think about is, when we think about on a spiritual level, we think about the whispers of the shaitan, or the devil, things like that, like what the nature of evil is, right? And I always thought about this. It's like, when I was having those thoughts, it almost felt like this is not me, and I'm not saying I don't take a knowledge that, like, I don't acknowledge that this is something internal, but it was like, I'm better than this. Like, this is like the darker side of human nature. And it's like, it was basically like a fire. Imagine like there's a fire in you, like this jealousy or this hatred or resentment, whatever you like to call it, right? Or anger, things like that, negative emotions. It's like a fire. And when you kind of like dwell on those thoughts, it's like you're constantly putting like more wood on the fire. You're constantly throwing more things in the fire to get it burning longer and longer. And, if you know anything about fire needs things to consume. So basically you're consuming yourself. And instead of like thinking about productive thoughts, thinking about positive thoughts, it even gets to a point where, for instance, you're offering, salah, and instead of focusing on that you're praying, you're literally thinking about, these negative emotions. I mean, that's one thing that really scared me, is just like, bro, I'm praying right now and I'm still thinking about this. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, wallahi, like, this is getting out of control. And it felt unnatural. You know what I mean? So I think like we need to do better. Like, sometimes it's good to write down what you're feeling, because when you see a visual representation of what you're doing or what you're thinking, it kind of like can check you. You know what I mean? I actually put Post-its on my door before I walk out of the day when I have a stressful day, just to kind of like reinforce, like, it could be like a verse or surah, it could be a motivational quote and things like that, to kind of check myself before I walk out the door. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And sorry, LaShawn Jefferson, before you also come in, can I just interject something where I think it might be beneficial? Thank you.
Y'all got the floor. I can wait. Y'all's talking truth, so I can listen.
Thank you. And it's always a pleasure as well hearing your intake into the situation. Thank you. So just to kind of go back to what I was saying is that, sometimes, especially if we have these really sort of energetic pull towards people, sometimes it can be quite scary and overwhelming, definitely. And at the same time, I think there's also something that, like you said, and I don't mean to bring your situation back up again, but if I could use that as an example where there's something that you like about this person or something you find intriguing about this particular person. And normally, if we really delve in and kind of ask ourselves, like you said, through journaling, which is amazing, because I think when you put things into paper, you can kind of take out the words that kind of stand out in your brain. It's like, oh, I wonder what that meant, or I wonder, you can explore further with yourself on those thoughts. But when it comes to the reason why you like someone, especially if it's a very strong connection, yeah, it could be infatuation, it could be love, it could be fantasy, the fact that you fantasize about you and her getting married and living happily ever after. But normally that person generally represents something for us in our own psyche. And whether it's maybe the care and love that you didn't get from a particular parent when you were younger and you've projected that onto someone else. So I definitely believe in transference. So there's these even in I think Latin, is to carry. So we have a lot of feelings from childhood, because between ages of 0 to 7 we absorb, and we energy stays in within us unless it gets felt and dealt with, and then it dissipates. But generally there's something that you've projected onto someone, and that there's something there between you and her, where she represents something to you, which I think is quite interesting to sometimes also, if anybody is listening and they might come across in I guess find themselves in those dynamics where you don't understand why suddenly you're enticed by this person and you can't stop thinking about them, and you kind of have these really obsessive thoughts, is to not focus on the person but more so on what's the feeling and where is it coming from.
Yeah, sister. Thank you so much for saying about that transference. Sorry, but yeah, I just thought about that because actually, the reason I did that, I handed off the money and the note after I came back from the hospital, and when I was in the hospital, I had a lot of free time, and I was talking to therapists and stuff like that, and I was really thinking about the transference because when I was getting that care and talking to therapists and stuff like that, I was like, wow, I'm really haven't thought about her in the last couple of days that I've been here. Well, why is that? It's because, I think I was transferring the lack of I feel like in my personal life, especially, maybe I put her up to that pedestal because I felt that she was going to fill that void of having somebody to connect with on an intimate level, not physically, but intimacy. We always think about it through a physical or a sexual standpoint. But intimacy can be, you can have an intimate conversation with somebody that you just care about, that somebody has empathy with you. And that's what you do with your doctors, your therapists sometimes, if you don't have that outlet with a social life. And so I was just because there's a few times that we did have conversations, right? For instance, she's not practicing, right? But for holidays, right? She we'd be like, hey, Ramadan Mubarak, Eid Mubarak, hey, how's it going? Are you spending it with your family and stuff? And she was like, mashallah, I'm spending with my family, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. How are you doing, brother? Hey, here's my traditions for my family that we used to do. Have you done this and do that? She asked me about, Eid, did I sacrifice a goat and all this stuff? I was like, no, I haven't done that or anything like that. So I had those conversations with her, and I kind of wanted to go beyond that. But I feel of course, because of her situation and stuff like that, I was always aware, hey, I didn't want to cross any boundaries and stuff like that. But I felt maybe because I viewed her that way, that there could be that empathy and that transference of maybe having somebody to connect on a deep personal level. Because in general, honestly, especially within my workplace in my immediate local area, there's not a lot of Muslims at all, let alone practicing Muslims, right? So maybe I think that has something to tie and do with it. You know what I mean? In the end, maybe I was like, oh, she's the closest thing that I could have to having a halal relationship or something like that, or a friend that is of of like the same community or something like that, I guess you could say. And I was putting that all on her. And and then when I got to the hospital, I was like, wow, I really haven't thought about her in such a long time, because I had those intimate connections with people that were working there and other patients as well. Like I talked to a lot of patients about how I was feeling and stuff. And I was just like, wow, I don't have any friends that I can have these conversations with. And that's probably the root of the problem. I don't know. What do you think about that?
You need to have friends you can talk to. Trust me. I've had many. And I've had to look, good people. They color, their beliefs and religion, or the way they live their lives is never going to stop them from being good people to you.
Mm.
How many good people you want in your life, or how many good people you going to exit out your life because you judging yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Hence your title. Since you doing it yourself, you reveling in your own self-destruction, aren't you?
Yeah.
And that's the reason you don't reach out?
Well, the reason I don't reach out is because, unfortunately, and this happened even recently. So there's, if you don't have you're at an outlet for dealing with internal issues that you have, sometimes you get desperate and that you end up confiding in people that you shouldn't confide in. And that's always been a thing in my life. I've always had somebody that was maybe an acquaintance or a friend or something like that that said, oh, hey, blah, 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 I'm going through this problem, I'm going through that problem. And unfortunately, some people aren't equipped to kind of deal with that. Either they're going through their own stuff, or maybe they just don't have the empathy to kind of just listen to you. Because a lot of the thing is you just want somebody to listen to you, right? You don't want somebody to interject, give you criticism. You just want somebody to listen to you. And some people, they do that, and it's from a manipulative standpoint. It's like, oh yeah, I'm willing to hear you out. And then they use that to their advantage, and that really hurts. When people do that, that hurts more than anything. Like when you confide in somebody about, something that you really, that's really concerning to you, especially if you're saying, hey, don't tell anybody else this. I don't want to look weak, especially as men, right? Hey man, I don't want to look weak. I don't want to look pathetic. I'm going through this. I'm insecure. I have a low self-esteem and this and that. And then other guys, especially because I mostly talk about these issues to men. I don't really feel comfortable talking to women about these things for various reasons. And then they kind of use that to manipulate their way and get things out of you, because like, oh yeah, like remember when you told me about this and that? I had your back and stuff like that. That's not how you should approach people confiding in you. When people tell me about their insecurities and their secrets or their traumatic experiences that they have, I would never ever be like, oh, hey, remember that time you told me about how you were abused, or remember that time you told me about how your wife or your boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband left you. I'm not going to use that as leverage for you to get something out of you. You know what I mean? And all too often, I think a lot of people do that. I don't know, sister, what do you think about that?
Zachy, real quick, sister talk. This is something he just brought up, and I want you to get the whole picture and not just half. Zachy, do you realize we both share personal stories with a lady on the panel, and we ain't got to worry in the world because we actually talking to a lady and she has her own personal experiences and she's slowly sharing it with us.
Mm.
And we ain't none of what the hell is the problem and what the title is.
Mm-hmm.
And we can be just decent human damn beings. Because isn't that what we all aiming at? We all have troubles. It's just, are you willing to trust somebody? Or is that person going to somehow make you just all of a sudden just trust them with secrets you don't share with people you trust personally in your life you see every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's the magic of real ass human beings. Each one of us are one.
Mm-hmm.
That is why they look out to go ahead and rip you down, judge you quick, and try to give you every title they can. Because they're never going to be what you naturally are.
Mm.
That's their problem. Sooner or later, really, are you ashamed of what you are right now as a person? No. Are you proud of what the hell you failed at and overcome? Yes. Will you not do the devil's work like you did the devil work that day? Absolutely. Then you got a whole bunch of people that they can't give the same answer to, judging you and waiting for you to give them a moment where they think you failed. Great title, bruh. And Sister Talk, you have the floor, miss. Thank you for your presence.
And likewise, thank you for being so open and honest and very, really transparent. I think sometimes that's what you're right, LaShawn Jefferson. We do need that human element of ourselves, or the human sides of us to really come out and explore and to not be shamed for being honest and open. And I think it's something that we definitely need. And it's honestly, I feel so privileged and honored just being on this panel with these two amazing gentlemen that I'm learning so much from. And that
you got great timing. You got great timing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Sister Top, because since I got you on here, I'm probably gonna have a closing note and then dip because it's Oscar right now, in my time zone. It's about 3:01 right here. So that being said, shout out to LaShawn, man, because I met him over at Mace Taggart's thing, man, and Mace is my boy. He's one of the people that inspired me to start a channel and things like that, because I think that everybody has something they can offer, and he specializes in his content. I want to specialize in what I want to do, because what I do here, I feel like a lot of people they dip into stuff like this, but they have all their specialty, right? And they say, hey, I'm from a certain community, I want to talk about this. Or they say, hey, I'm a certain political ideology, I want to talk about this. So I think I kind of wanted to create a space where I can kind of interject and kind of get people together from different backgrounds to kind of find some common ground, as well as because, I'm a African-American Muslim, of course, my perspective is what it is too on top of that. So I want to get my word out there a lot as well. That being said, also to Sister Talk, when I stumbled upon your channel, it really was amazing to me, because you talked, I know, especially as a sister, right? I think you talked about this last time. I think a lot of the times your voices are marginalized a lot, and that you guys don't really have a say. Like, I've been following, there's also another channel called Honest Tea Talk. It's from some UK sisters. I believe like two of them are Somali and one of them's Arab. And they talk about really like honest conversations about, hey, marriage, abuse, or, challenges within, their social life, the struggles of practicing and things like that, as well as just social issues in general. And it's refreshing to see a sister feel confident and strong, because, the feminist argument is like strong, independent, and all that stuff like that. You're strong and you're independent, but at the same time, you're of the deen. And that's really beautiful to see, because you may not notice that, and I said this before, you may not notice that other people notice you. And I can boldly say each and every time you come up here, I notice the way that you operate, and it inspires me to better myself and how I practice. You know what I'm saying? Because if I see a sister practice better than me and that she's impacting people positively, whether in her work or the things that she says, and making the world a better place, why can't I do that as a man? And I say with all the gratitude and all the in the most humblest terms, thank you for what you do, because every single topic and conversation you have, whether you think it or not, impacts people, and I'm definitely one of them.
Do you know what? I feel really honored. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. And I would definitely say, in a humblest way, I definitely don't deserve all the accolades that you've just attributed to me. But may God guide us all and give us the strength. And I'm proud of you as well. I really am. Like when I found out that you had a channel, I was like, wow, like, I'm sure there's going to be so much more people that are going to subscribe and definitely, you're going to be able to spread the message and teach people about your experience. Like you said, we all have something what we could, bring in to the table. And yeah, I really do get inspired, and even topics that you've done. Like I got inspired by this topic. I'm like, oh, what could I do that could be a bit similar, and I could maybe change the name around. So honestly, you're also, inspiring me and, loads more other people. So I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all that you've done, and, all that's to come. And I know you're going to do so well. And also, LaShawn Jefferson, you've brought up some beautiful, amazing topics and conversations that sort of brought in. I really felt honored just to be amongst you, like both of you as men, and just sharing all that you've shared. Thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, sister. I'll catch you I try to do a stream at least once a day, or whatnot. During the work week, it's usually later on the day. But thank you both for coming in and interjecting. You guys, no matter what topic I'm talking about, you guys are welcome I'll send you the link. You guys are welcome to jump on. It's, as long as we can respect each other, I don't see any reason why we can't, have conversations. So with that being said, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You guys have a wonderful day.
All be safe.
Yeah, stay safe. Stay safe, brother. Yes, indeed.
Look forward to meeting you again, both of you. And
yeah,
likewise.
You earned my respect on May Circle. You in May Circle. And I always say it even when I get cussed out because everybody thinking I'm drinking. I'm just thinking because, damn, while I was about to make a point, I just thought about what they said. And now I'm in between thoughts and it ain't coming out clear. But I'm okay with it because I'm always going to be judged as ain't nothing. Don't mean I got to live my life as ain't nothing. Same with you, Sister Talk. Same with you, Zachy. We deal with people stupid. We ain't the stupid people doing it. That's what you need to walk with your life with. And all be safe. And also, okay, y'all say it for me because I'm going to mess it up and I don't want to be rude. But just much love and respect, and look forward to the next time we get to talk together.
Likewise. Thank you.
Good night.
And alaikum, salam alaikum. Good night.
Wa alaikum salam.